it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was playing! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind on the Early Line, Sirius XM Channel 159 right here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Dubs Anderson. And as you know, over the next 3 hours, the hottest topics, we got you covered on everything. Did you guys know we're about 1 week from Thanksgiving Day? My goodness, it's November the 20th. It's starting to get colder here in the Northeast. And my goodness, when you're talking about coldness, the Jets front office. The NFL starts back up again tomorrow night in a cold and chilly Cleveland Browns game in the AFC North to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, my goodness, the hot topics. They're going to flow today, Dubsy. Are you ready for the action-packed Wednesday morning right here on the grid?
Happy hump day, absolutely. Clear minds, dirty bets, from the links to the clay to celebrate a champion. There is no shortage here for your Wednesday on the grid. So I'm ready to rock and roll, Donnie. I've done the press-ups. I've had the cold brew. Let's get after it.
Yeah, let's have some fun here. And by the way, it used to be in the fight game, like the O must go, meaning that two undefeated fighters will be tangling. One of those guys is going to get a loss. Well, yesterday, the Celtics weren't undefeated coming in, Dubsy, here, winning 11 out of the first 14 games. But you know what? 15-0 perfection, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not perfect anymore. The Boston Celtics 120, the Cleveland Cavaliers 117. And by the way, the Celtics were rolling the Cavs for most of this game. A furious comeback for the Cavaliers, held off for the Boston Celtics. But the Cavaliers got the all-important cover in that game. Celtics win, Cavs lose. Exciting times. NBA Cup season in the NBA.
14 for 22 from the three-point range there for the Celtics. Is a 21-point deficit going through the second. The Cavs really got back into this one, but don't get it twisted. There is only one heavyweight coming out of the East, and it still remains the reigning champs, the Boston Celtics. They absolutely flexed on them early. They let the Cavs into it late, but this was a monster performance, especially there from Jason Tatum. He was phenomenal. 33 points with 12 rebounds. So it was a big night for the Boston Celtics, taking down the Cavs, and maybe a little lingering hangover after that first loss.
Absolutely incredible, too. Like, when did Jason Tatum turn into Steph Curry from the three-point line? 6 of 10 from three-point range. Look at that. Like, look at just the three-point shooters in the starting lineup. 6 of 10 for Tatum, Hal Horford 4 of 5, Holiday 3 for 4, White 4 for 7, and Jaylen Brown 2 of 7. That's 54% from three-point range as a team. The Boston Celtics look like a better version of themselves last year when they actually won the championship. We'll find out, but they were able to handle the Cavaliers last night and give them their first defeat. I'll tell you, for a team that's taken a lot of defeats here, Dubsy, so far in the 7-7, the hottest topics across the sports landscape, that's Tyrese Maxey saying, hey, Big Joe, You got to come to practice. You got to come to team meetings. You got to be on time. We got 2 wins on the season, brother. Help us out here. Crazy times in Philadelphia. Not a great start to the season, to say the least.
Worst record in the East, sitting at 2-11. And I mean, what's going on? Why is Tyrese Maxey having to be the leader in this locker room? He's not just saying, hey, JoJo, you've been late to a couple of games. He's late for everything, Donnie. He's late picking up the washing. He's late getting the car. He's late to training. He's late trying to rock up to some of these games in street clothes. It has not been good enough from the 76ers. Joel Embiid, it starts with the big fella. Maybe this was the spark they needed in trying to revive their season, or at least stay afloat for now. But 2-11 to start. This has been an absolutely dismal campaign for the 76ers, much in part to the big fella, JoJo.
Absolutely. And by the way, you know what I did yesterday? I love turmoil, Dubsy, and that's the buy low point here. The FanDuel Sportsbook 28-1 for the Philadelphia 76ers to win the championship. Threw a little $25 down, Dubs, which would pay back over $700.
Ooh.
It's Sixers season in the right side household. Well, maybe at least till tonight, because they have a game against Memphis. If they don't win that, maybe we'll back out of that bet here altogether. But you know who's backing out of bets? It's Woody Johnson. It's the Jets. Hey, Joe Douglas, hit the road as well. Coach is fired. GM's fired. Team in turmoil. Aaron Rodgers was supposed to get benched. My goodness, what is going on with the New York Jets here, Dubsy? Joe Douglas, out.
Jets spells toxic, dysfunctional, another wasted season in New York. This has been so embarrassing. 3 wins. And I tell you what, I wouldn't be looking at my guy, Joey Douglas. I'd be looking at that starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. What is going on? Speaking of locker rooms, Donnie, I don't know if there's any hope for the Jets. It has been dismal to say the least. The GM since 2019 yet to put together a winning season. It's been another failed attempt for this one. And they've since had 8 different quarterbacks since 2019. So I don't know if the GM should have been the man on the chopping block, but that is massive coming across in the Jets. And why now, Donnie? Why now?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at this a little bit later in the show, too, because you're right. The general manager did a very good job of assembling talent that just didn't work. Maybe that function of the organization that Woody Johnson has taken over that never makes the playoffs, maybe he's the issue here. But certainly a team in turmoil, and we'll decide a little bit later in the show when we get to the Fade the Public poll. Aaron Rodgers will even be the quarterback next year for those Jets. Let's flip it over to college football here. How about this? The college football playoff show was yesterday, and now Boise State, if the season ended today, would be hosting, or should I say, getting the bye week as the number 4 overall seed. These things have a way to work themselves out, but boy, we got some shakeups here in the college football 12-team bracket.
And I know you love these updates for the college playoffs, Donnie. But Boise State moving into bye territory, that's monster, considering, they're still sitting there at 14. So I tell you what, BYU's in that 14 spot. Boise State has certainly climbed up there to the 12th spot. But this is big. Top 5 remains unchanged. BYU was certainly the team losing most stock. But for Boise State, Ashton Jeanty continue to run up their chances of making a tilt towards being a top 12 and move their way into the college football playoffs. So a lot to debate, but a good measuring stick in what we're seeing here from the committee.
Crazy. I mean, look, I'm still going to be ad nauseum. Like, I love the 12-team playoff. It makes the football season much better. We love to have games that are meaningful at the end of the season and then the playoff itself. But the fact that the first round here I'm looking forward is more exciting than the second round. Why? Because the teams that actually get the bye don't even get home games. They're going to a bowl game. That has to change in the future. We'll talk about that also a little bit later in the show. College basketball, number 15, the Marquette Golden Eagles, 76. The Purdue Boilermakers, 58. An 18-point win for Marquette yesterday as they improved to 5-0 on the season.
Yeah, Cam Jones was phenomenal in this one, taking down the Boilermakers there. 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. I believe that triple-double was just the third in school history. The last player to actually come up with such a feat, I believe it was the one and only Dean Wade. So that was Dwayne Wade. That was a monster performance there. In the college basketball, the college hoops, we're now starting to get a bit of a feel early in the season here. Big pretenders, big contenders, and Marquette with that performance certainly looks to be a contender moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I like big games early. I do. Like, we're still the month of November. December gets a little interesting around the holidays. Then we start to kick in conference play once we get to January, and away we go into the tournament itself and March Madness. So watching these games, getting familiar with some of the teams as we move forward in the college basketball season. Here's an interesting one. Yesterday, we take a look at the MLB awards, which are starting to come around, which I have a huge issue with this. Like, hey, Stephen Vogt wins it along with Murphy from the Brewers. Along with Pat Murphy from the Brewers. Excuse me. Does anybody care at this point now, Dubs? Like, it's almost like when the MVPs get, who cares? It should have been given a month ago. I don't think these guys get celebrated. This should be done, these awards, months ago when the season ends, like in early October when the playoffs are still going around. But Vogt and Murphy do get honored as top managers across Major League Baseball.
Wasn't Vogt just a player, Donnie? I feel like he was in the league, going back 18 months. So, well done to the Guardians. Well done to Stephen, having a bit of success there in the AL first year at the Reigns. And for Pat Murphy and the Brewers, lost a couple of pieces coming into a new season, but don't get it twisted. They make the playoffs again, 6th time in 7 years. So that consistency, big part, thanks to Pat Murphy. So well done to the two managers. We saw a couple of the rookies getting honored there a little earlier in the week. And tonight, a couple of big awards going towards the Cy Youngs as well. So a lot to come.
How about this? Rafael Nadal also retires. I thought the guy retired 3 years ago at this point. Also, what a shame for some of these athletes who just continue to take losses on the retirement tour out here. But 22 Grand Slam championships. The crowd said goodbye. And I don't even know who the guy he lost to, but it is time to hang him up. Rafael does after a fantastic career.
Yeah, what a career. One of the big three, 22 Grand Slam titles, 14 French Opens. Truly amazing. 81 straight wins on the clay surface in 17 years between his very first and last Grand Slam. The longevity, really special stuff, and that tenacity, that will to win. Haven't seen many like it. Rafael Nadal, what a career.
Absolutely. Great career for Nadal. We'll keep it on the NBA hardcourt last night. Let's head back to Boston and hit the recap right here on the early line.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Told me I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben.
Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fresh off a win last night, the Boston Celtics improved to 12-3 on the season, 5-2 at home, and a big NBA Cup win over the Cavaliers, who came into the game with perfection, 15-0 in the season, and also 7-0 on the road. They dropped to 7-1 on the road, 15-1 on the season, but they did fight in this game. The Celtics looked like they were on cruise control through the first part of that game, first half, and through the third quarter, but a furious comeback for the Cavaliers does come up short. But the Boston Celtics, look, records aside, we understand they're probably the most talented overall team in the NBA. Jason Tatum looks like a better version of himself, but I enjoyed that basketball game. Close at the end here, Cavaliers fought, but I thought that streak would come to a close yesterday. And I also thought, Dubsy, the Boston Celtics would get the win and the cover, which they didn't. So credit the Cavaliers for coming all the way back and covering that spread as they sit at 15-1. No shame in their game. You got to lose sometime. Just a good battle in Boston last night.
Yeah, I mean, you're going against the reigning champs in their building. It's a little taxing trying to keep up a run of 15-0 and trying to make it 16-0, something we haven't seen since the Golden State Warriors. So that was special. And the Celtics have looked really strong, Donnie. Not to say it's been as a bigger surprise as where the Cavs have started their season at, but for the Boston Celtics, they look bigger, better, faster. You highlighted Jason Tatum from beyond the arc. The three-point shooting has been absolutely lethal. They went 14 for 22 from three in the first half. They blew them out to a 21-point deficit. I know it was a lot closer in that third quarter. The Cavs made a bit of a run, got it to, I believe it was a 2-point margin there. But the Boston Celtics are playing some really good basketball. And not to say that this is going to be a preview of what's to come in a few months, but there's levels to this game, and it certainly looks like the Boston Celtics could be in a league of their own. But for the Cavs, question marks on how this is going to affect them. You know, we usually see a bit of a drop ball lingering effect after that first loss comes with a really good chance of, back-to-back dropping a couple. But this was a monster performance. Jason Tatum has looked fantastic to start this year. I mean, going through the summer there at Paris, there was a bit of a snub at the Olympics, so too for a couple of the teammates there, but they're playing motivated. They're playing some really good basketball, and it looks like the locker room is absolutely vibing right now. So for a lot of these other contenders in the association who really haven't figured things out early, and the records support that, the Boston Celtics, this was a clinical display on Tuesday evening. Not to take it away from the Cavs, but the best team in the NBA right now, it's got to be the Boston Celtics.
I'll tell you where this game was lost yesterday for the Cavaliers, who now sit at a 12-1 price to win the NBA championship. Off the bench, Porter Jr., 6 of 8 from the floor. Ty Jerome, 4 of 5 from the floor. Georges Niang, 5 of 8 from the floor. Then we started the starting lineup. Sam Merrill, 2 for 3. You take a look at Jarrett Allen, 5 of 6. Mobley, 8 of 13. Mitchell, 13 of 29. Ooh, that's really good. Darius Garland, Dubsy, 31 minutes, 3 for 21 from the floor, which included 0 for 6 from three-point range. That's where the game was lost. You got to have your A game if you want to take down the Celtics in Boston. These two teams will certainly match up later in the season, and also probably a playoff preview. Great game in the NBA Cup last night. Once again, Boston Celtics 120-117 victors. Around the association, Connect 4 in Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. Lakers 124, Jazz 118, Dalton Connect 37 three-point shots, which included 9 triples there. He was amazing last night. LeBron, he's got to love to have a wingman like that.
Yeah, and LeBron told us after the game, we didn't find Dalton Connect. Every other team who drafted before the Lakers missed out and absolutely dropped the ball on this one. 6'6", the big fella from Tennessee. I mean, this was certainly probably the game of his young career. Put the Lakers on his back, and that's the offensive spark that's really been missing for LA going through the last couple of seasons. JJ Redick, he's done a phenomenal job with this new look version of the Lakers, but Dalton Connect coming in and putting up a 37-point performance, 12 for 16 from the field, very efficient shooting. This could be the third sort of arm to the big three here. Anthony Davis is having close to a career best season. LeBron James is close to averaging a triple-double, even at where he stands going against Father Time. So this was a monster performance from the Lakers. They're now 7-0 at home, 10-4 to start the year. They are very well coached, and they are playing with a lot of confidence early in this year. And I feel like maybe it's going to be the same story as last season, Donnie. NBA Cup champions go and lift the trophy out on one of these fluoro courts, but does it really matter? It's the longevity of a long season in the NBA that's ultimately going to test an aging Lakers side. But this young fella, Dalton Connect, he looked fantastic on Tuesday night.
Yeah, the Lakers absolutely doing it backwards, right, Dubsy? Expend that energy, win the NBA Cup. Don't have enough left in the tank to win the actual NBA championship. We'll see how it plays out. But Dalton Connect, talented rookie coming from Tennessee here, looks fantastic so far early in his NBA career. How about this little one here in the NBA Cup yesterday? If I would have told you the final score 110-104, San Antonio Spurs over the Thunder, you say, "Ooh, that's a mild upset." What did Wembanyama do in that game? He didn't do anything. He didn't play. And if I told you the Oklahoma City Thunder got Jalen Williams to drop 27 points and SGA to drop 32 points and they were getting blasted heading into the fourth quarter. That's a big-time win for the Spurs, 110-104 yesterday. How about no Wemby? No problem.
CP3, master stroke from Chris Paul, absolutely facilitating this Spurs charge, this Spurs surge across OKC. I did not have a go on this way, Donnie, but this was a great game. Yeah. And, at the bench, there was a lot of production. We saw Johnson coming in, putting up 22 points. We had Charles Bassey going for 12 there. Every single starter hit double digits. Zach Collins, he looked fantastic as well. But that was the key, shutting down OKC, one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Certainly love to move it up tempo, but they just really couldn't get things going. And this was a monster shot considering that Wemby was there in street clothes and not playing for the Spurs there. So for San Antonio, big performance. They're sitting right around 500 for the year. And maybe for OKC, just, it took on the opponents a little too lightly. Now 4-2 playing away from OKC there. So this is a big game for the NBA Cup and a big game for a young Spurs team who's already faced a lot of adversity on and off the floor early in the year here.
No doubt about it. Also another NBA Cup game, which again, group play was all yesterday. The Dallas Mavericks 132-91 over the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans now dropped to 4-11 on the season, but surprisingly, the Mavericks finally were 7-7 coming into that game, now sitting at 8-7 on the season. If we're lining up some of the stars in this game, you got a balanced scoring attack that basically take off the fourth quarter yesterday. Why? Because you had Klay Thompson drop 19 points, Luka Doncic 26 points, and Kyrie Irving 18 points. The Dallas Mavericks, one of those teams that we're looking forward to challenge for an NBA championship, and Luka Doncic in MVP. A great night for them and a porous performance for the New Orleans Pelicans. Talking about porous, how about the Philadelphia 76ers? We'll talk about them next. And it be fixed right here on the early line.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Hour number one rolling along as we get to the Philadelphia 76ers. On this Wednesday morning, it's me, Donnie Rightside, it's Stubbs Anderson. We got to get to the bottom of this, Stubbs. And it's the Philadelphia 76ers. The offseason excitement. Sixers getting Embiid to come back here, signing a new extension, fresh off of a gold medal performance in the Olympics. Paul George doesn't re-sign with the Clippers. He comes over to the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey looking to take that next step. The big three in Philadelphia. Could they challenge the Boston Celtics for supremacy in the Eastern Conference? Bleacher Report tweets out yesterday, after falling to 2-11, the 2-11, Philadelphia called for a team meeting where Tyrese Maxey challenged Embiid to start showing up on time for team activities per Shams Charania. So let's get this straight, Dubsy. Joel Embiid is the foundation of the process in Philadelphia and has been a great basketball player. Has he missed time due to injury? Absolutely. But now it looks like he's being lazy. I love the youngster, Tyrese Maxey, calling him out. So my question to you, Dubsy, could this be a catapult for the Philadelphia 76ers season as they sit at 2-11?
Whoa, Donnie, cool off the Jets, relax a little. Look, I think this could be the spark to maybe find a little momentum, but I just don't think it's there. I mean, there's pressure mounting. You know, if Kyle Lowry is the guy calling this meeting, you know, bringing the Supremos into the locker room and saying, hey, this is not good enough. We want to be coached harder. No one's having a crack. I don't know if it is just all about Joel Embiid. It sounds like there's a poor culture there in the facility, and it's not going to translate out onto the floor if you get an inspired, motivated Joel Embiid. Obviously, there's a lot of rust there for the big fella. It looks like he's carrying a bit of extra timber, which is not going to be so easy in trying to get up and down the floor. Tyrese Maxey, look, love this kid. He's always been known as a bit of a leader in that locker room, despite being one of the younger fellas, but it hasn't been good enough. And the players are looking around at each other saying, we've got the cattle to do it. They spent the money in the offseason, Donnie. We know the pieces are absolutely there, but sometimes the chemistry, injury just gets in the way, but it has not been good enough for the 76ers. Sitting at 2-11 to start their season, we thought they were going to be one of the heavyweight contenders. And when your superstar, Joel Embiid, and don't get it twisted, we've got the big three. They've got some great talent there for the starting fives, but Joel Embiid is absolutely their guy. He has to be the guy. I mean, he's been one of the best in the league for a very long time now, and they paid him that accordingly. It's not a great look when the younger guys are saying, mate, you're late to everything. You're not showing up to practice on time. You're not getting there on game day. Last week when he made the return, they didn't even see him at shoot-around during the day, and he just showed up and decided to play. So $212 million spent in that offseason, bringing George in, that hasn't been good enough. It just hasn't worked for me, Donnie. So maybe this is the spark they need to pick up a couple of wins and turn it around in the short term. But long term, it's a massive fade for me for the 76ers. I don't think they get back in to this run.
Let's see what happens here, because sometimes Embiid has to play himself into shape, which I do think will happen. Maxey's a fantastic player. Paul George fitting in. These three guys have to be on the court for this team to improve. Now, there's not really panic in Philadelphia about them making the playoffs. It's just such a terrible look, specifically from Joel Embiid's point of view. Look, the guy is the franchise in Philadelphia. They didn't argue with him by giving him this extension in the summer. Like, he is supposed to be here and being dominant, and it looks like he's disinterested. What's the first way to tell that, Dubsy? Like, on the court, you're not in shape. Hey, what did you do this summer? Well, I played in the Olympics. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. But if you're just showing up late to meetings and not being a team player, that really hurts the individuals who are giving it their all and losing basketball games right now. You're supposed to get Joel Embiid back on the court and say, okay, the big guy's back. Let's get out here and dominate. And that hasn't been the case. They're going to take on Memphis tonight, and the estimated starting lineup does have Tyrese Maxey in it. So the big three should be intact. We'll see where that goes. You see the graphic up there, wins from 49.5 down to 41.5. The playoffs to make it minus 1,500, now down to minus 400. And the championship odds, 10-1 to start the season at FanDuel, now sitting at 28-1. What do you need to see, Dubsy, over the next month out of the Philadelphia 76ers to try and start to buy in here?
It's Joel Embiid. He has got to get back up to fitness. He has got to start stuffing that stat sheet on the nightly, because they can only go as far as Joel Embiid can go. He got the bag for a very good reason. We know the ceiling. We know the upside. But even turning it back to the Olympics, he's never that guy who's leading the boys. He's never the vocal one, outspoken, saying this is what we need to do. So no surprises that Tyrese Maxey is suddenly looking like the leader in Philadelphia. But Joel Embiid, he can lead in a volume of different ways. It doesn't have to just be the loudest guy in the room. He has to lead in the paint. He has to be physical. And I think that's going to be the DNA for the 76ers to not only get back into this season, but if they want to make a genuine tilt towards a postseason run.
Absolutely. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they are a more talented version of themselves from last year and opened up 2-11. You know who else is a more talented version of themselves this year and is being bad? The New York Jets. Let's get after JETS. Just end the season? Talk about it next right here on the Early Line.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, "Oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you."
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not know
right?
we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben.
Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, boy. The New York Jets right in the crosshairs now. Let's rewind back to last year. They get Aaron Rodgers in a trade after he comes out of the darkness, Dubsy. And it looks like that was going to be a match made in heaven that lasted, 2-3 plays on the season, and the Jets were in turmoil right away. But have no fear. Aaron Rodgers came back this year healthy and ready to go, and it's been an absolute disaster, which yesterday we follow up on a tweet from Adam Schefter that states, more change in New York. Jets now have fired general manager Joe Douglas, sources tell ESPN. Last month, head coach Robert Saleh, now Douglas. It's a complete reboot for the Jets. Let's start here. Joe Douglas being removed mid-season for the Jets, Dubsy. In your mind, does that make any difference here on this complete reboot to get it started?
No, absolutely not. I don't agree with the firing. I don't agree with the timing. I mean, this has been a disaster, a sinking ship, to say the least. And you look at some of the weapons and some of the achievements that we've seen from Douglas. I mean, there's some really skilled and talented young players on that Jets roster. Why are they not winning? Well, there's, a myriad of reasons. You look at the quarterback turnover since 2019. They've had 8 different starting quarterbacks. That's been a disaster. Robert Saleh, I didn't think much of him as a head coach. And what do we make of Aaron Rodgers? I mean, he was returning this season at 40 years of age. He missed last year. You look at the 3 years prior to that, every single key metric was trending in the wrong direction. The only number that was going up was the interceptions, and they've continued to come up with these Band-Aid fixes this season, bringing across every weapon and every friend that Aaron Rodgers could find, and it hasn't worked out. And imagine the pressure in this locker room, Donnie, and how toxic the environment would be. Everyone's walking on eggshells. This may not be the last piece to fall for the Jets going into the back half of the year. So for Douglas and what we have since 2019, I don't think it's been the worst record for a GM. I know it hasn't been a winning season with him in since that tenure, but I mean, I tell you what, I think there's a couple other people who need to have a hard look at themselves in the mirror in trying to explain why the Jets season hasn't fared so well. So I don't agree with the timing. I don't agree with the move, Donnie, and obviously not big on the Jets. 9.5 was their win total. Thanks for last Sunday. That was the first one that cashed for me in terms of big futures. So happy days.
Yeah, I need to see like Aaron Rodgers come out and be like, well, what did you want me to do? Alan Lazard's been hurt the past couple weeks. We had Alan Lazard in the lineup. Like, that's something Aaron Rodgers would actually tell us. But let's be real about the New York Jets. Like, where did this go wrong? Because it's not a talent issue. Like, the general manager, I thought, did a good job acquiring talent. But it's clear that there were missing pieces here in that locker room. The defense, man for man, as good as it gets in the NFL. The offense, they rebuilt the offensive line and added a lot of weaponry to an already talented team. Is it just so simple to say Aaron Rodgers is not the same quarterback that we saw in Green Bay? We didn't see him at all last year, but this year you just watch him. He's not the same player in the pocket. And yes, Father Time is going to catch up, but it shouldn't have caught up this quickly, Dubs. If you were just getting random average play of your quarterback, this team should be good enough to win, challenge for the AFC East, and make a playoff run. It just hasn't worked. For me, when I watch the Jets, there is a disconnect. They're not fast on offense outside of Breece Hall in the backfield. Yes, they have talented wide receivers in Garrett Wilson. He's not really a deep threat. Same thing with Devontae Adams. Not really a deep threat. The construction of this roster is very interesting, but to say the least, the talent is there. Dubsy, is it just so simple to say it's Aaron Rodgers' fault the New York Jets are this bad?
Oh, I think he's the highlight, Donnie, that it's not a good team. It's a team of good players, and that's what's missing for me. I mean, it's so disjointed. I don't care what kind of superstars you put in key positions. It's not going to work out if you can't get them all in sync and get those reps and get that trust and confidence in one another. And you look at some of the other teams around the league who wouldn't have a fifth of the offensive weapon that we see there for the Jets. So is it Aaron Rodgers all to blame? No, but I certainly think he is a massive part. And I think some of the big changes that we've seen off the field squarely point towards Aaron Rodgers has far too much control over this classroom. It is the student being the teacher, trying to dictate terms there for the Jets. We know what the upside was. We knew that the championship window was this season, maybe going into next year. They missed last year. There's a lot of hungry mouths looking around saying, hey, we've been waiting for you to come back and get up to speed, be fully healthy. They've got that. He has looked decent, good enough to be winning a lot more games than 3 games going into week 12. I know they've got the bye coming up this week. So Aaron Rodgers has to be one of the big culprits here, but it just looks like a team that isn't well coached. It's disjointed, and it only gets tougher and tougher as you move through the regular season with pressure mounting. It has not been a fantastic 2024 here for the Jets. And what's next for Aaron Rodgers? What is next for the Jets? Do you even play him going through the back half of the season here? Is it time for a little Tyrod Taylor? We also saw that coming up through the media yesterday that there were calls to bench Aaron Rodgers after the first 4 games because they didn't think that quarterback play was up to snuff. So there's a lot going on there for the Jets.
Yeah, those reports were fantastic, too, because it's understood that Woody Johnson, the owner, was trying to tell the coaches and the coaching staff to bench Aaron Rodgers. And once he left the room, they were asking each other if it was actually serious, the question that he was asking. Always love a meddling owner. It never goes wrong when the owner meddles, right, at this point. Now, you take a look at the New York Jets moving forward. There are a lot of issues, obviously, that they have, and Aaron Rodgers is probably the biggest fish in the room. You take a look at the season as a whole. There were so many winnable games, Dubs, that the Jets just didn't make the right moves in game, had leads against teams they never should have lost again. Even last week, you take the lead, you need one stop against the Indianapolis Colts, and you couldn't get it late. This should still be a playoff team, but it's not. And the question that's going to come up now is, as you look at the Jets, a 10-18 record the past 2 years, 17 points per game. That's a flat-out embarrassment here. You take a look at under Joe Douglas, 30-64 record. Changes will be made, and they were already. Robert Saleh, gone as the head coach. General managers, we just talked about Joe Douglas, gone as the general manager. It's a complete reboot. Here's the issue. How do you reboot this football team with Aaron Rodgers on deck for another massive paycheck next year, where if you cut him and move on, that accelerates the cap? So if you're doing that, you must blow up your defense with your high-priced veterans. You must blow up the offense with your high-priced veterans. If we're looking for a deep rebuild for the Jets, this could take 3 to 4 years. But how do you get from out under Aaron Rodgers' number? I still think, yes, it could be a reboot, but Aaron Rodgers will be your quarterback next year. It almost feels to me, Dubsy, you are forced to have Aaron Rodgers Rodgers and this team come back next year because physically it doesn't make sense with the money you owe to these guys.
Yeah, I think their hands are tied, Donnie. I really do not think they can move on from Aaron Rodgers being there at quarterback. So it could look very, very similar going in to next season. So I guess they've got the back half of this year and trying to figure things out. But at what point do you say, well, this season is run and done? Aaron Rodgers at 40 years of age, do we really need him out there on a Sunday afternoon taking body shots? If he were to go down, that'd be another catastrophe because what do we got? Tyrod Taylor to step up and take that place? I don't know if that's going to give him much of a chance in trying to win football games. So the Aaron Rodgers experiment, it's been a failure thus far, but I don't think it's all finished, Donnie. I think there could be more to come from this one. This is like a bad movie that you put on for Netflix. You just want to keep on watching it to see how it actually ends, and then you finally get there and say, wow, what a wasted 2 hours that was. Can I get my subscription back? But I really do think it's a sign of the times for the Jets. This one is not going to be fixed in a hurry. And for Aaron Rodgers, what's next, Donnie? Who else is he bringing in? Is he bringing in the local paper boy, the PT from 24 Hour Fitness, and trying to steer this locker room in the right direction? He's ran out of answers. It's been an absolute bust, and the Jets have come for a crash landing.
Yeah, what are we taking a look at in the offseason? We're like, hey, maybe if we can get Justin Jefferson on the Jets, maybe they can improve that offense. It's madness what's going on right now, but also understand this. What coach is going to want to step into this environment knowing that he probably has to have Aaron Rodgers next year? And also, we talk about like the Dallas Cowboys being a great job to have, high profile, but are you really the head coach? Like you answer to Jerry Jones, and apparently Woody Johnson is going to tell you exactly what he feels as well. So same thing getting a general manager. Hey, awesome. I'm going to be a general manager in the NFL. Well, is this owner going to come in every 3 days and tell me who I can and can't play and who I should sign and make moves with? Because understand this, if Woody Johnson was saying I need to bench certain players, he was certainly instrumental in bringing in Aaron Rodgers and also bringing in players like Devontae Adams as well. New general manager, new coach, maybe a new quarterback. Jets fans, they just can't have anything nice, man. Would look like a great tenure with Aaron Rodgers up in flames. Let's go around the NFL with more news and notes next.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben.
Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Black Friday's coming up next weekend here, one of the biggest shopping days of the year, and also does have an NFL game. The reason I bring that up is hot deals, hot seat. The Cleveland Browns. Do you know Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, is 40-40 overall in his career? But during those 80 games, he's won 2-time Coach of the Year honors, which is impressive. The hot seat for him, as they sit at 2-8 overall, not much hope in the near future. A quarterback that gets monster money next year, who maybe won't even play with an Achilles injury. And you have Jameis Winston as your quarterback. Let's start here for the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski, obviously a good coach. Boy, he's got a tough schedule the way out here, including next year for the Cleveland Browns. How about that one, Dubsy?
And I tell you what, Donnie, if you look at the stars aligning, they'll get set to take on the Steelers here for Week 12. For the Browns, since 2008, they've fired 6 head coaches following a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this could all be on the line. But what a failed experiment this has been. I mean, Deshaun Watson and what we have seen out there for the Browns, that's certainly been the catalyst for, I guess, an underwhelming run of expectations here. This has been a very poor run for the Browns, 2-8, fourth in the AFC North. So they're certainly making up the numbers at the quarterback position. There's a lot of questions. I know since the big fella Jameis Winston has come in, he showed glimpses of putting up points, but the offense just has no spark at all. Really struggling to put up points on the weekly, and it's a sign of the times. The only stat or metric that's truly measured here for the head coaches in the National Football League is that old win column, and they just haven't put up enough, Donnie. Certainly one of the worst teams in the NFL, and Stefanski, he's certainly a blame to a bit of this, but I don't think he's the full problem. It certainly looks to be Deshaun Watson and what he's, failed to contribute over the last couple of seasons there. So it doesn't get any easier for the Browns, and there certainly is a lot of pressure mounting towards the head coach.
No, there is. And also, could they just have kept Baker Mayfield and not made that crazy move to get Deshaun Watson, what that franchise would look at today? But hey, spilled milk there. He goes on his way down to Tampa Bay, and here's the issues that you have with the Cleveland Browns. Other issues out here. Bad quarterback play. Yeah, Cleveland has that. You know who else has that? The Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott down for the season. Cooper Rush hasn't looked all that great. He threw damn near 50 times in his last primetime game on Monday Night Football. He's going to start again Sunday, which means how bad is Trey Lance out here, Dubs?
Poor Trey Lance. I mean, what happened to this guy? They won't even entertain it. And they teased him. They let him put on the helmet there Monday night. They said, we may get you in for the last couple of minutes. But I tell you what, Donnie, I love Cooper Rush. On the betting side of things, he was fantastic for Monday Night Football. He goes over his attempts. He goes over his completions. They booked him at 176 passing yards. He flew over that just at the start of the second half. So it's not a good sign for the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry's trying to come up with all the, the answers. It just hasn't worked in favor. Dak's a massive blow, and I feel like there's another head coach with a lot of pressure pointed squarely towards him. But as you highlighted there, Trey Lance, I don't know why. He's always been out of favor. We know he's a dynamic athlete, and I feel at this point you've at least got to see what you're working with. We know what we've got from Cooper Rush. He's been in the building there for 6, 7 seasons. He's okay. He's got an arm on him, but with no run game, the Dallas Cowboys have just struggled to get things going in the right direction, and it's not going to get any easier with Cooper Rush at the helm going against Daniels and the Commanders here for Week 12.
Yeah, we laughed at Rico Dowdle being the starting running back, and we are still laughing to this day. But Cooper Rush, your starting quarterback, Trey Lance, the backup quarterback, things aren't getting any better soon. And also, everybody clamoring, Dubsy, to play in Jerry World just to play the Cowboys because it's usually an easy 3-touchdown victory. We'll see what happens in the future and how long Cooper Rush will be the starting quarterback there. Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants. That's my quarterback, man. Daniel Jones is the number 1 quarterback. Oh, boy. Daniel Jones goes to the bench. New quarterback steps up and in here. He says, you know what? That's my best friend, but I understand the move here, and let's go Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, they were drafted together, so no surprises. Phil in this one, and so too is Daniel Jones. But until he looks at that bank account, I think he'll feel a little better. The experiment in New York, it just hasn't worked in favor. For Danny Dimes, he's got the athleticism, he's got the arm, he's shown glimpses, and at times he's looked like a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he has been a starting quarterback, but other times you're just left scratching your head saying, what was that? The decision-making, it's slow, it's often wrong at critical points in these games. And for the Giants, I know they spent a lot of money, $90 million guaranteed there. It just hasn't worked in favor. So let's get Tommy Cutlets back in the mix. Tommy DeVito feels like that guy, and we saw it last season, Donnie, where maybe this could be the spark to pick up a game or two. You've got Drew Lock as the backup there, and then third-string quarterback now Daniel Jones. That's so insulting, Donnie. I agree with the move. You've got to look for something else, but put him as the third quarterback on the depth chart, wow, that's going to hurt the confidence a bit.
See you, DJ, and we'll see who signs him next year. The Philadelphia Eagles should sign him, by the way, to make him their backup quarterback just to continue to troll the New York Giants would be fantastic. How about this? Maybe trolling the workplace with Deion Sanders. Put my kickstand down. Means I'm happy, I'm relaxed, love to be here in Boulder, Colorado. My question to you, Dubsy, is that all a facade where Deion has his eyes on a bigger job throughout college football or even entering into the NFL?
Yeah, there's been talk with Shedeur Sanders likely going to be the top quarterback off the draft board, that Coach Prime may be looking to make his way up to the pros. And absolutely, Donnie, there is no loyalty in professional sports. There's no loyalty in college football anymore. Even the players are getting paid. They're also getting the massive bag there. So for Coach Prime, I think he would absolutely entertain any kind of promotion outside of Colorado. And for him, I know they're having a fantastic season. They're approaching making it into the college football playoffs. This would be a success. Deion Sanders could look around and say, hey, this is what I did for the Buffaloes. This is my record. You know what I can do. And, hey, my son, he's a decent-looking quarterback there as well. And what a return it would be to Dallas if they could just find a way to get that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and you can't fault Deion Sanders. A lot of people, I can't believe he's going to leave Colorado. What, are you kidding me? This is what coaches do all the time. You resuscitate a dead program, bring them back to relevance, and maybe on the verge of making the college football playoff. Strike while the iron's hot. Any other Power 5 or team is going to look at Deion Sanders with a head coach opening and want to talk to him. And the same thing with the NFL. If you say, you know what? This guy could be the next level, and we need him in the pros, he'll be there with a huge paycheck. Deion has done a great job for the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll see what that next move is. But as we talk about the college football playoff, could Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes be included in there? I'll tell you one team that's in there. It's Oregon, number 1 overall. Let's talk about the standings up next right here on the Early Line.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
TV shows for college football playoff rankings. The only thing better than that is obviously right here on the SportsGrid Network, our programming and our TV shows, which includes the early line. But if you did want to watch the college football playoff rankings, you did that last night. And then you come over to the SportsGrid Network today and talk about it, Dubsy. How about this? No surprise. 1, Oregon. 2, Ohio State. 3, Texas. 4, Penn State. And 5, Indiana, as they move up without playing anybody during the season. Now, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 through 12, they're going to work their way out. We understand that. But let's be honest as we set this up here for us. As I just said, the teams that are going to take place on the field in the next couple of weeks, that's going to determine who's going to make it in. But it's always good to have these talking points that are built in. For me, I want to see the best 12 teams get into the top 12, but there are caveats like the Boise State squad. Good football team. If the season ended today, they'd actually get a bye here, which is kind of ridiculous, and I'm okay with that. And no, they won't be playing on the blue turf. They'll be playing in a bowl game, wherever that might be. So, Dubs, let me ask you this question here. The way the college football playoff rankings are setting up now, do you agree that that group of 5 being included could actually turn into a bye when they're not actually the best team out there? Sounds a little bit crazy, but some people agree with it. And me, I disagree with it, though.
Yeah, absolutely, Donnie. I think the best teams should be rewarded, not in a matter of the seeds or how they're making their path into the final 12 teams for the college football playoffs. So I guess top 5 remains the same as what we saw last week. We're now starting to get a bit of a viewing here from the committee on how they're measuring wins, losses, and picking up style points. But for Boise State, they've played some really good football, but they're sitting there at 12, projected number 4 seed. I think that's wild. Like, there's certainly not a top 5 team in the nation, and you want to see the best of the best. So I think this would actually open up a bit of a pathway to not give us the best teams through the first round of the college football playoffs. So for me, I think that's a bit of a caveat, a bit of a weak spot, and obviously being the first year for the expanded playoffs, it may need a couple of, I guess, reworks and whatever else moving forward. But that would be massive for Boise State. There's a big game coming up this week between Indiana and Ohio State, a big showdown there for the Big Ten as we hit the final month for the regular season. So I don't agree with it, Donnie. I'm right there with you. I don't think it would be just to a lot of these other big programs who have certainly been playing much better football. And if you were to stack, any team inside the top 10 going against a Boise State, they'd likely be booked as odds-on favorites. But then you've got the Broncos taking that 4 seed. So I don't agree with it, but it's a sign of the times. And every week matters just a little bit extra now as we try and make that push towards the playoffs.
We started in the 1990s, Dubs, with these college football championship games for the conferences, which were basically a money grab. It wasn't designed to help your team out. Quite frankly, it hurt more teams than it actually helped. And you're doing the same thing this year. There are pathways to victory with teams like it playing in the SEC, Dubs, that don't want to make the SEC championship game because that's a chance that they might have to play a very good team. And if they lose, they'll be knocked out of the college football playoff. I think if we expand the field from 12 to at least 16 and do away with those college football championship conference games, I think we'll be much better off. Because, again, I understand what they were trying to do, but when you're trying to field the best 12 teams, you can't have automatic bids go to teams like Boise State. And I'm not saying Boise State can't challenge for a national championship or earn their way in, but hear me out on this. They shouldn't be hosting a bye when you see some of those first-round games. Those projected games here, number 2, Ohio State versus BYU. Would like to see that game. Penn State and Georgia, with Penn State hosting, fantastic. Indiana, Ole Miss should be a great game. Notre Dame hosting Alabama in a playoff game in December, absolutely outrageous at this point. So I do like the start that we have. I enjoy the 12 teams. College football season has been never better this year as it breaks through. But if we are looking at being a truthful, truth serum for this, we can't have it the way it's set up, but it's a start here for me, Dubsy.
Yeah, it really is. It's a foundation to build off going in to the next few seasons. And I guess, the big dropper of the week, Donnie, was BYU dropping 8 spots to now sitting at 14th on the outside looking in. So I think there's going to be a lot of movement going through the next couple of weeks, ups and downs, but don't get it twisted. Oregon, the Ducks, still sitting up top there as the team to beat. Dylan Gabriel still running the thick of it for the Heisman conversation as well. And I really feel like there's a lot of parity this season as we approach the new look college football playoffs, Tony. I feel like any team could make a bit of a run to this thing and just hold that momentum. Oregon, certainly number 1 in the standings, but I don't think they're, far and above the best team in college football. I really think you can make a case for any of the top 5 on their day to topple the Giants.
Here's my case, too, in the NFL. Do you remember when they were starting to say, you know what, the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game, we're going to have those at neutral sites, would completely ruin the environment. NCAA has to step in here. And again, I always like to say, make me commissioner. We don't have any bowl games here. Every team with a higher seed plays at home until the championship game, which we played in Vegas, likes the Super Bowl. Hour number 2 is coming up. More hot topics on the way. Don't miss out. We'll be right back.